Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour. Now, here's John Truman Wolfe.
Hello, America. Welcome to the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour. I am your host, John Truman Wolfe. I've got what I think is a fascinating show for you today because, and I said the reason I think is that I don't think most people in the United States, let alone around the world, actually understand how the banking system is set up and the risk at which depositors are these days. And I'm going to talk about that at some length. I was reading Financial Policy, which is it's not financial policy, Foreign Policy, which is the magazine of the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, some of you may have opinions on the Council on Foreign Relations, as do I, but I always operate on the idea that you should know your enemy. And the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, if there is a godfather of the deep state, the CFR is it. They publish a magazine called Foreign Policy that has that organization's take on various issues around the planet. And the writing is sometimes good, but I repeat, I want to know my enemy and I want to know what they're saying, how they're thinking. And they wrote an article recently about the BCCI. You probably don't remember the BCCI, certainly not by the acronym, but it stands for the Bank of Credit Commerce International. And it was probably the biggest banking scandal ever in the history of the country. It goes back 25 years. And the BCCI was basically running a Ponzi scheme. They were taking in deposits and then taking the money. And then so they'd have to get more deposits in to cover the money that they had taken. The bottom line is people got ripped off for billions and billions of dollars. And the BCCI used some of the biggest law firms in D.C. They used PR firms. They protected themselves for some years. And then at some point, it all came crashing down. Some of the more famous politicians in D.C. at the time were caught up in the mess. And it was a mess. Among others, it was the CIA's bank, right? I mean, the CIA ran money through BCCI, the Arms for Contra mess, and so forth. Anyway, it got me thinking about the current situation of banking in America globally, but very specifically about banking in America, because that's where the show goes, although it's on the internet and it goes everywhere. But I want to educate folks about what's going on in the banking system in this country and how to protect yourself. There are risks involved banking here in the United States, and I want to explain what those risks are and how to avoid them. I'm John Truman Wolfe. We will be back in just a few moments after these messages to find out about banking in America. Stay with us.
In this time of global uncertainty, you need sound financial information to keep your investments, your future, as safe as possible. The Strategic Financial Intelligence newsletter, created by John Truman Wolfe, #1 best-selling author and renowned financial consultant to governments around the world, is your most valuable asset. A monthly goldmine of the vital insight and insider information you need to stay on top. Right now, financial security is critical. That's why, for a limited time, we're dropping our price from $249 annually to just $99. That includes access to the entire Strategic Financial Intelligence archives, covering everything from precious metals, offshore banking, to cryptocurrencies, and the wildly heralded seminar on the covert agenda that has backed the U.S. dollar for at least 50 years, and more. Sign up now at strategicfinancialintelligence.com. That's strategicfinancialintelligence.com.
All right, folks, we're back. I'm John Truman Wolfe. We're going to talk about banking in America, some of the liabilities that exist in the banking system, and how you can protect yourself. Let me start by describing the structure of banking on planet Earth. The godfather of the global financial mafia is a bank in Basel, Switzerland called the Bank for International Settlements. Most people have never heard of this bank, but it is the central banker's central bank, meaning that the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank is a member, so is the Bank of Canada, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of Italy, and there are 55, the key 55 central banks on planet Earth are members of the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, which was a Nazi bank. It was actually founded way back, I think in the 20s. I don't forget the exact year, but it was founded way back to help collect reparations payments after the First World War. It evolved in the Second World War. It facilitated Nazi finance, the Nazis' collection of Jewish funds and gold, and it has a very sordid background and history, but it has become, in the last decade or so, the powerhouse on planet Earth relative to finance, relative to banking. So the central bankers fly in there every couple of months. They have a meeting, and they are informed on what to do. In other words, they are directed by the BIS. So I'm talking about the central banks of the various countries of the world. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, the central bank dictates the economies of a country primarily by controlling interest rates and the amount of money in circulation. International settlements in Basel, Switzerland, is dictating to the central banks. So you get the picture. They're the senior force on the planet relative to what's going on in the world of banking. So, and then down from there, in terms of the structure of banking on the planet, you've got the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. Those two institutions were founded at the Bretton Woods Conference, which was a conference that the Allies had towards the end of the Second World War. The conference was held at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, and is called, strangely enough, Bretton Woods. And out of that conference came to restructure. I mean, the purpose of the conference was primarily to restructure the financial system, and out of that conference came the International Monetary Fund, which at the time had a decent goal to keep a balance in foreign currencies. The World Bank was formed to provide loans to war-torn Europe, certainly a laudable purpose. But both of those entities are now nothing less than global predators. By that I mean, let's take a look at it. The product, what they produce, what the World Bank produces, is indebted nations. That's their product, nations that are in debt. The IMF is its sister organization, essentially facilitating the same thing. So, but in terms of the other banks, coming down the food chain from the Bank of International Settlements down through the IMF to the central banks in the country, and then to the banks in the country. The banks on this planet are pregnant with 1.2 quadrillion with a Q, dollars worth of derivatives. What's a derivative? A derivative is a security that derives its value from some underlying asset. So a lot of you probably remember hearing about mortgage-backed securities during the financial crisis of 2008, 2007, 2008. A mortgage-backed security is simply a package of mortgages. They would package up mortgages into a document. The document was free, but it controlled a bunch of mortgages. So the derivative got its value from the fact that the mortgages that it held paid mortgage interest. So if you were to buy a contract for the delivery of gold, the contract for that delivery is a derivative. It's not the gold itself. The contract would say, okay, good, you will receive X tons of gold, ounces of gold at this point in time in the future. You may sell that contract, you may not. But the point is, the definition of a derivative is that contract's a derivative because it derives its value from some underlying asset. So of this $1.2 quadrillion worth of derivatives on the planet, about 70, maybe 75% of them are what are called interest rate swaps, which is a mouthful, sounds very technical. But the fact of the matter is that interest rate swaps are nothing other than bets on the direction of interest. So let's say the Bank of America says the interest rate on Greek bonds is going to go up. And Deutsche Bank says, no, they're not going to go up. They're going to go down. And they bet, essentially. And that bet is a security. And other people bet on that bet, and other people bet on those bets. And there is this pyramid of bets, all of which are derivatives, which just have exploded to, as I say, over $1 quadrillion. As I say, 70, but it varies from time to time, but it's between 70 and 80% of these derivatives are these interest rate swaps, which are nothing really other than Vegas-like, casino-like bets. So in the United States, the major money center banks in New York, we're talking about Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Wells, Fargo, about a half a dozen banks that there in New York are chock full of these derivatives. $227 trillion worth of derivatives. Now, the Bank for International Settlements became concerned about the amount of derivatives in the banks on the planet. And they decided to do something about it to protect the banks on the planet. And they issued a policy called a bail-in policy. And I will explain what that is right after we come back from these messages. Stay with us.
The Financial markets have turned chaotic. Today, more than ever, investors need to have sound, predictable, accurate advice. That's why investors, even some of the biggest names in Hollywood, have turned to the advice of #1 best-selling author John Truman Wolfe. Wolfe's wildly heralded newsletter, Strategic Financial Intelligence, is at a 60% discount during the COVID crisis. It's available at strategicfinancialintelligence.com. That's strategicfinancialintelligence.com. Enjoy Tiki Live, the best cable alternative choice today, with hundreds of premium live TV programming, including ESPN, CNN, Fox News, Disney, AMC, Bravo, XF, OWN, and CRN Talk. Plus no contracts and low month-to-month service. Tiki Live, servicing North America, including the Caribbean. To get started, visit tikilive.com to order hundreds of channels, including CRN Talk, at a fraction of what you're paying today. Visit tikilive.com. That's TIKILIVE.com.
When you really want Italian food, you've got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. My dear friends, today things are so confusing. It's enough to boggle the mind. That's why it's vitally important. In fact, it's an absolute imperative that you indulge in brain food, provided by the noted Institute of Good Times and Great Yum Yums, Columbo's. Just come on down. Columbo's provides the remedies and elixirs, such as mouth-watering steaks, incredibly edible seafood, Columbo's family secret Italian specialties, and the pièce de resistance, the world's greatest meatballs. Imagine margaritas on the Columbo's patio, cerveza and other liquid refreshments, or take your pick and bring it all back home and enjoy the great indoors. Columbo's, saving the world from gloom and doom with great grub and glee. Happy, happy, happy Columbo's. Mangia bene.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. They want your money, and guess what? They can legally take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you. So what do? Fight back by letting our team of experts at the Tax Helpline work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws and will fight to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket.
800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. That's 800-932-1597.
Okay, folks, we're back. I'm John Truman Wolfe. This is the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour, and we are talking about banking in America, actually banking planet-wide, but your concern would be with your bank accounts here in the U.S. I talked before the break about a quadrillion dollars, actually $1.2 quadrillion worth of these funky securities that are held by banks planet-wide, and about $227 trillion of those derivatives are held by the major money center banks in New York. And it's my opinion that sooner or later, somebody's going to stick a pin in this bubble, and there'll be a banking crisis. I don't like forwarding bad news or less than productive news, but forewarned, we want to be prepared. And having information does prepare you. So if you're in a bank that is sizable, and by sizable I mean of $50 billion in assets or more, and you can find that out simply by looking at your bank's financial statement. You can even call the bank and go, well, what are the assets of the bank? Because what I'm about to tell you applies to banks with assets in excess of $50 billion a year, $50 billion totally, whether it's in a year or not. It's their assets. Excuse me. So, And bear in mind this fact, which I repeat, most people don't know. When you put money in the bank, you make a deposit in the bank, that money is no longer yours. This is a new switch in bank policy that goes back a few years, just quietly implemented. That money belongs to the bank. The bank owns it. Yes, you're an unsecured creditor, like, you laid the carpet in the lobby and the bank owes you for the carpet and your labor. You're an unsecured creditor. The money actually is owned by the bank. If you don't believe me, call a FDIC or your attorney or something. It's not yours. It's technically not your money. Oh, well, I've got a passbook that says it's got my name on it. Trust me, that money belongs to the bank. As I was explaining earlier, the Bank for International Settlements was concerned about the size of the derivatives market in the banks around the world, and they issued a policy. That policy is called bail-in policy. What is bail-in policy? Bail-in policy says if a bank is troubled, they're failing, they can confiscate your deposits or some percentage of your deposits and convert that money to bank stock. Let me repeat that, because people read that or hear that and they scoff. Don't scoff. Banks can confiscate deposits and convert the depositors' deposits, convert that money to bank stock. Bail-in policy was formally announced by the European Central Bank a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, by a guy named Mario Draghi, who is a former Goldman Sachs guy who became the president of the Central Bank of Italy, then went to work for the BIS, Bank for International Settlements, and then became the head of the Central Bank of Europe. And then he has since been replaced. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he issued mandated bail-in policy for all the banks in Europe. Canada followed suit very closely and formally issued a statement about bail-in policy. And if banks are troubled, their deposits can be confiscated and converted to bank stock. In the United States, there is a memo, a white paper basically, issued by the FDIC and the Bank of England. They co-wrote it. And the memo, written by the FDIC and the Bank of England, explains how bail-in policy would work in the United States. Yes, your deposits can be confiscated by a bank that's in trouble and converted to bank stock, just the kind of stock you need, right, in a failing bank. So we're going to talk about how you avoid bail-in policy. When we come back, it's important that you understand that it's a potential and that you're at risk if you're in a particular size bank. And I'll make some suggestions in terms of what you should do in that case. I'm John Truman Wolfe. This is the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour, and we'll be right back.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call Call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Attention Italian food lovers. Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante in Fullerton, California is open for takeout with wine. Can you believe it? Angelo's and Vinci's Takeout is now able to offer you a nice bottle of wine to enjoy with your meal. Order today and get 1/2 price on our special selection of Pinot Grigio, Chianti, Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. Mamma mia! Order today at Angelo's and Vinci's from our complete award-winning menu and get some great wine for 1/2 price. We hope you're healthy and safe. We want to keep you well fed. Wapo's To Go Kitchen is open from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day, or you can order through DoorDash. Pizza dough, bread, sauces still being made fresh every day. Angelo's and Vinci's named Best Italian Restaurant on the Orange County Hot List. Call 714-879-4022. Angelo's and Vinci's, 550 North Harbor in Fullerton, California. Call 714-879-4022. That's 714-879-4022.
In this time of global uncertainty, you need sound financial information to keep your investments, your future, as safe as possible. The Strategic Financial Intelligence Newsletter, created by John Truman Wolfe, #1 best-selling author and renowned financial consultant to governments around the world, is your most valuable asset. A monthly goldmine of the vital insight and insider information you need to stay on top. Right now, financial security is critical. That's why, for a limited time, we're dropping our price from $249 annually to just $99. That includes access to the entire Strategic Financial Intelligence archives, covering everything from precious metals, offshore banking, to cryptocurrencies, and the wildly heralded seminar on the covert agenda that has backed the U.S. dollar for at least 50 years, and more. Sign up now at strategicfinancialintelligence.com. That's strategicfinancialintelligence.com.
All right, folks, we're back. I'm John Truman Wolfe. This is the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour. We're talking about banks, the Bank for International Settlements, the godfather of the global financial mafia, based in Basel, Switzerland. That bank is senior to the central banks of the planet, including the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, Bank of Canada, Bank of Japan, Bank of Italy, et cetera, et cetera. And to review, if you're just joining us, I have exposed the fact that the banks around the planet are chock full of derivatives. Most of those derivatives are bets on the direction of interest rates. That those kinds of derivatives are called interest rate swaps. Not that that's particularly important, but that's what they're called. And they're just bets. They're Las Vegas casino-like bets on the direction of interest rates. New York money center banks have about 227 trillion with a T dollars worth of these. And my concern is that somebody's going to stick a bubble in the derivatives market. And we could definitely be looking at a banking crisis. I would not be surprised at a banking holiday, meaning 2 or 3 weeks where banks closed wouldn't be good. Your credit cards wouldn't be good. That may or may not happen. I don't have a crystal ball. I can just look at the data that's out there and the potential for this. And it's something I think you need to protect yourself from. We also explained in the last segment that the money that you place in the bank technically is no longer yours. It belongs to the bank. You are a secured creditor, means you'd have to get in line if the bank fails. But the Bank for International Settlements, seeing the quadrillion plus dollars of derivatives in the banks around the world, issued this bail-in policy, which says if the bank is troubled, it can take the depositors' money and convert it to bank stock. I know I've said that a few times. I kind of repeat it just so people actually understand that it's a possibility. So what do? Well, number one, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, see what the asset size of your bank is. Bail-in policy, at least for now. I don't know that it couldn't change, but for now, bail-in policy applies only to banks that have assets of $50 billion in assets or more, 50 billion or more. And that's not a hard figure to find. You can go to the website of your bank, and sometimes you have to poke around a little bit. All you need to do is look at the bank's financial statement, and you don't have to be an accountant. Just kind of go down the side of the words there to where it says total assets. And if the total assets exceed 50 billion, then my suggestion is that you move. What does that mean? It means just simply relocate your bank account from that bank to another, a smaller regional bank. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. Usually the service is much better. That's kind of a generality, but that's my experience. Move to a smaller regional bank or to a credit union. Very few, I don't know what the exact number is, but very few credit unions have derivatives of any size. I mean, you could ask if you're going to switch your deposits to a credit union, you could just ask them, do you have any derivatives? And if so, how much? A very, very small amount isn't going to crash the credit union, but derivatives of any amount, I just wouldn't bank there, whether it's a bank or whether it's a credit union. So you want to stay under that $50 billion marker. It's, it's just a safe thing to do, particularly given the current situation. I mean, we're all of us are operating in a world financially, economically, and socially that has never occurred before, not on this planet. And the volatility of the U.S. stock market is an indicator of the financial uncertainty. And it's why I recommend that if you've got money in a big bank, because if somebody sticks a pin in the amount of derivatives at JP Morgan Chase, and I haven't looked in the last, few weeks, but JP Morgan Chase had 50 some odd trillion, not billion, $trillion worth of derivative exposure. So sooner or later, as I say, somebody's going to stick a pin in this. If there's a banking crisis and your bank is in trouble, they can take your deposits, convert them to bank stock. So move to a smaller bank. I know I sound like a broken record, but I encourage people to do that. It's a little bit of a pain in the you-know-what, paperwork and so forth, but there are hundreds and hundreds of banks across the country that are small regional banks. I wrote a book, by the way, on this subject because when I first wrote about this, I was getting lots of emails and so forth. Okay, good. Where's a good bank? I wrote a book called The 99 Strongest Banks in America. You can go up and get a copy at Amazon under the name John Truman Wolfe, The 99 Strongest Banks in America. And I don't know what the price of it is, but maybe it's $10 or $15. I'm not sure. But then you can look through that book and see if there's any particular bank that's near you or convenient enough for you to bank with. I went through the financial statements of hundreds and hundreds of banks in the United States before writing that book. So, it's worth a look if you're concerned about this and looking for a good bank. When we come back, and we're going to take another short break, but when we come back, aligned with or in the same category of information as with this banking thing is the fact that cash is going away. The death of cash is coming. There probably will not be any cash in your lifetime. It'll be gone. And what are they going to replace it with? I'll tell you when I come back. I'm John Truman Wolfe. We'll be back right after these messages.
How would you like to save up to $500 on your next vacation package? Any vacation package anywhere in the world. Just call Superior Travel and mention the code RADIO and save up to $500. We'll design a custom, fantastic vacation just for you with all the bells and whistles. Not some cookie-cutter vacation, but a unique, all-included vacation customized by one of our exclusive travel experts. And our service is completely free. You pay nothing more. So why waste your time? Let us do it for you. We've got over 100 years of travel experience to help create the perfect trip for you. Call now and learn how to save up to $500 on your next custom vacation. Pick up the phone, call Superior Travel, and use the code word RADIO.
800-570-9631. 800-570-9631. That's 800-570-9631.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Okay, folks, we're back. I'm John Truman Wolfe. This is the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour. We've been talking about banking, the major bank on the planet, the godfather of the global financial mafia, the Bank for International Settlements. We have discussed bail-in policy, the policy issued by that bank that says if a bank is troubled, they can take your assets, your deposits, and convert them to bank stock. That's called bail-in policy. It's real. It exists. And we have also discussed the fact that when you make a deposit in the bank, you actually relinquish ownership of that deposit to the bank. You no longer own that money. You are a secured creditor in the bank. So what do you do about it? In the last segment, we talked about moving to a smaller regional bank or a credit union. And then, just as we went to the break, I talked about the fact that there is a war on cash on this planet, and cash will be gone. I have no question about that whatsoever. Slowly, gradiently, there is an assault on cash. As one of the Scandinavian countries, it's going to be, intends to be the first non-cash country. South Korea has talked about going cashless. There are banks in Australia that won't accept cash, and so this is just starting, but it will continue. Okay, good. Well, if there's no cash, what's there going to be? Zeros and ones, ladies and gentlemen. Your bank account will be digital, and it will be zeros and ones. No, you say, no, this couldn't possibly happen. Really? Really? Well, Russia is exploring that possibility of issuing a national digital currency. Beijing, let me read you a snippet of a piece from the Wall Street Journal. If I can find it here on my desk. You get a good article and then hide it from yourself. Here it is, Beijing. And this is a very recent article. I think it was April. China's central bank has introduced a homegrown digital currency across 4 cities as a part of a pilot program, making a milestone on the path towards the first electronic payment system by a major central bank. And trust me, China is not the only place. There was an article a while back that reviewed a conversation that the reporter had with Christine Lagarde, who at the time was the head of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. She's now the president of the European Central Bank. She's basically a French communist, this woman. But she was head of the IMF, and somebody asked her, made a disparaging remark about digital currencies. When we're talking about digital currencies, we're talking about Bitcoin, that kind of thing. And she turned around to the reporter and said, basically, don't disparage digital currencies. They offer all kinds of benefits. And it's my opinion that the IMF, she didn't say this, that the IMF will be issuing a digital currency. Why digital currencies? What's the benefit? Well, the government can track everything you do. If your bank account is zeros and ones, and that's the way exchange takes place, the government can monitor it entirely. Can't do that with cash. I mean, you can take cash out of the bank, stick a little bit under your mattress, which I recommend, actually. I know it sounds a little funky, but I would take some Ben Franklins out of the bank. But the government can't track cash, and they make the excuse, smugglers, drug dealers, terrorists use cash. So does everybody else. They always, default to that. But the same is true for gold, right? Gold or silver, they can't track that. And because the government can't track that, and because they're trying to get rid of cash and convert bank accounts to digits, it's my thought that they will come after the gold. Sooner or later, I think they'll come after the gold. We'll see what happens. As those of you that kind of follow history, that Franklin Roosevelt confiscated all the gold in the country, virtually all the gold in the country, made it illegal. And so I'm a very strong proponent of owning gold and silver, particularly these days. The precious metals have commenced a bull market, and I think that bull market will continue for another 2 or 3 years. Gold trading today at around 1,800, silver getting close to $19 an ounce. Both of these metals moving up, and I think they will continue to move up, as I say, for quite some time. So move into a smaller bank, have some gold and silver, and there's one other recommendation that I'll make after we come back from the bank, because I want you protected should there be a banking crisis in the United States. I'm John Truman Wolfe. This is the John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour, and we'll be right back.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 888-912-1332. 888-912-1332. 888-912-1332. Call right now. 888-912-1332.
For the getaway of your dreams, come to Hawaii's Playground, Ka'anapali Beach Resort, on the fun side of Maui, where the world comes to play. Find your spot on Ka'anapali Beach with 3 miles of white sand, 12 resort properties, 2 golf courses, and 2 shopping centers. Enjoy the playground of Hawaii's ancient royalty. Ka'anapali Beach Resort is Hawaii's original master plan destination resort and home of the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. With views of 2 neighboring islands, you can breathe in the land's natural beauty from your favorite resort or golf fairway. Come experience Ka'anapali's own special brand of Hawaiian hospitality with world-class dining, relaxing resorts, water sports, and activities of every kind. For romantic, family, and great friend getaways, discover the options of Ka'anapali Beach Resort, where the world comes to play. Plan your getaway today. Visit Ka'anapaliResort.com. That's KAANAPALI Resort.com.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? News flash, the president has changed the tax laws, and now you may be able to pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, the tax doctor can help you pay the IRS as little as possible allowed by law. There are new tax laws for business owners, the self-employed, even W-2 workers. If you have a back tax problem or a few years of unfilled returns, new help to save you money is now here. Call right now to see how the new tax laws can help you. Plus, right now, we'll waive the consultation fee and give you a free tax savings report. Attention business owners, the self-employed, and W-2 workers. Make this free call to the tax doctor now and learn how to take advantage of the new tax laws that may help you pay the IRS less.
800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. That's 800-985-1610.
All right, folks, we are back. I'm John Truman Wolfe. This is John Truman Wolfe Financial Hour. I have been reviewing the situation with the banking system in the U.S. What I've been talking about is actually a global situation, but I'm guessing you don't have a bank account in Paris or Moscow, and so focusing on U.S. banks. And in quick summary, I've talked about the fact that the godfather of the global financial mafia, which is the term I like to use for the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, is the senior banking entity on the planet. Orders get issued from that bank. We've covered the fact that the banks in this country and around the world are full of these kind of Vegas-like bets called derivatives that the Bank for International Settlements has issued a policy called bail-ins, which enable a failing bank to take depositors' money and convert it to bank stock. And I've also made the point that when you put money in the bank, the title of that money actually passes to the bank. The bank owns that money. You're a secured creditor. The bank owns you the money, owes it to you, but it actually belongs to the bank. And then finally, I've been talking about the fact that a solution to that is to move to a smaller regional bank or a credit union, a bank under the $50 billion threshold. So if you're in a bank that has assets in excess of 50 billion, my suggestion is move to a smaller regional bank, number one. Number two, get some gold and silver. If you don't have precious metals, I strongly suggest you do that. Now, having said that, always consult with your own financial advisor. I am a very strong proponent of precious metals, which have started a bull market. I think that bull market's going to continue. But needless to say, everybody's situation is different. So always consult with your own financial advisor, because it may or may not be right for you. Third, I would suggest that you get some digital currency, because the world is going digital. If you think Bitcoin is a fluke, regardless of what you think of it, it's not going away, folks. Digital currency is here to stay. And assuming that's the case, I would get some. Go to one of these Bitcoin exchanges, one of these digital exchanges. They all aren't Bitcoin exchanges. And get some. I mean, if you follow digital currencies, then because there are a couple of thousand of them, then there may be specific digital currencies that you want or think are hot. If you don't, then Bitcoin's kind of the granddaddy of the digital currencies. You can buy a little of it, open an account at a digital exchange, currency exchange, and get some, because the world is going digital. All of that said, I'm going to make a pitch here and sound like a used car salesman, because I believe in it strongly. Subscribe to Strategic Financial Intelligence, strategicfinancialintelligence.com, and I'll keep you appraised. I'll keep you appraised of what's going on with precious metals, with digital currencies, with the banking crisis, should one come. And then you can be prepared and you can act. At least you'll be informed and you can make a choice. Strategic Financial Intelligence. I hope I have the opportunity to see you as a subscriber. That said, I will see you next Thursday, 4 o'clock LA time, Pacific time. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. This is John Truman Wolfe. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Mr. Pop.